Hi, and welcome to the Business of Being a Virtual Assistant. I'm your host, Tiffany Parson, and this is episode number 193. If you're watching the video, I'm going to let you know right now, my notes are right here to my right, so you'll see me glancing them. If you're just hearing me on the podcast, thank you so much for listening. Today, we're going to talk about the 5 things you must be able to answer before your next discovery call. So 5 things you must be able to answer before your next discovery call. So I'm going to kick it off and let you know what is a discovery call. I'm answering this question for those who are brand spanking new to your virtual assistant business, or maybe you found me because you're researching how to start a virtual assistant business. Maybe you just got hooked and you're binging all the episodes. I don't know. But let's talk about what is a discovery call first. So a discovery call is where you discover what the client needs you to do. You discover why they want to outsource to a virtual assistant. You learn who they are, what their business is. This is where you get a chance to decide whether this is a client for your business or not. Now, this episode is not about discovery calls. We'll do that another time, but I just wanted to preface what a discovery call is before I dive into the 5 things you must be able to answer. Okay, number 1, what services do you offer? So be prepared to answer that question if the client asks you what services you offer, or have them already in mind. So if they say they need something that you know you don't provide, you can let them know right then and there that this isn't something that I provide. This is what I provide. Maybe they will have sent an inquiry to you via email or Facebook or Instagram, however they contact you, and maybe they ask you what services you provide. So have this on deck in your brain already down. See, if you've got a specialty and maybe 2 or 3 services that go along with that, this makes it easy for you to rattle it off. If you've got a long list of things, maybe it's time you categorize things into a category based on what you provide. We provide services related to creativity, administrative services, technical services. Those are some of the VA categories. How much are your services? That's the $1 million question they're going to ask. And you may feel a little comfortable having to answer that on the spot. I don't want you to have to answer that question on the spot. How much are your services? So as you're noting, writing it down somewhere as a quick reference for your personal, not to send to the clients, go ahead and put on there how much you charge. Now, granted, each client rate may be a little different based on how much they need. So you have a starting amount. I recommend that you don't give clients an exact rate while to them during the discovery call, because you need to discover all the details, and then you need to go back into your laboratory, check your price sheet, come up with a package for them, and then send them an email with everything you talked about and let them know what the rate is from there. Number 3, what is your time? If a client were to ask you, what's your turnaround time? Do you know how long it takes you to do the services that you listed as your answers for number 1? How long does it take? And these are approximate. You won't know for every single client. It's an approximation. It's a starting point so that you're not always starting at 0. You're not always starting at, let me try to figure this out, right? So what's your turnaround for each one of those services that you have listed? And they may never ask you this question, but this is information that will be helpful when you send them that follow-up email with your rate, with everything that's included. And then you also let them know how long it's going to take you. Number 4, what do you need from your client? What do you need from your client? What do you need for them to provide you with so you can get started? Let's say they agree. They pay their invoice. You need to already know what they need. This way, in a discovery call, you can communicate to them what happens next. I'm going to send you this. Then I will need this. I'll send an email that has all the things listed that I'll need for your particular project. You'll need things like this, that. This way, if they don't have it all together and ready for you, they can get it ready for when they're ready to start that project. So you're not doing a lot of waiting. The most frustrating thing is to have to wait for the logins, for the content, for the access to be added to different things. You want them to know ahead of time what all are that you need in order to get started. And you need to know what they are long before this discovery call. So that way it's ingrained in your brain and you automatically will, weave that into conversation. So they're prepared. You also put it in email, because just because you say it doesn't mean they're going to remember it. Put it in email also. Number 5, how do you have them pay you? How will they pay you? Do you want them to pay you through PayPal? Are you going to send them an invoice? Do you want them to mail you a check? How are they to pay you? Now, that is not a question they're going to ask per se. You're going to send them an invoice, or you're going to let them know they can mail a check, or whatever it is that you're going to receive. I accept debit, credit cards, whatever. If they're local to you, maybe you take cash. Point being, it's important that you know how they are to pay you. Do you take deposits? Do you take payments in increments? Do you require they pay you up front? That is completely up to you how you want them to pay you, how you want them to do that. You get to answer that, because remember, it's your business. All of these questions, you want to have answers somewhere on hand, so that if you're doing a discovery call on Zoom and they see you, you see them, their conversation is good, and they ask you, well, what's your turnaround time for that? So this way you don't feel stumped. You don't feel like, oh, gee, I never thought about that before. I never thought about how long it takes me to do that. I never really thought about how much this is if you also get that. This way you're doing some of the work ahead of time. It'll also help calm your nerves, because now you at least got 5 pre-ready questions in case they ask. And if they don't ask, you're going to include some of these answers in your follow-up email, because it's important when you let them know your rate, what's included with their project, and the turnaround time. And how they pay you is kind of woven in. If they say, yes, let's go for it, and you send them an invoice, you don't want to take forever to send them an invoice, because you're trying to still figure out how you want them to pay you. Know that well in advance of your discovery call. Now, I have to tell you something funny. I realized I didn't turn my timer on, and I wanted to make sure that this was at least 10 minutes for you, but completely forgot to do my timer, because I just couldn't wait to dive into content for this particular episode. So hopefully we've made it to the time allotted. If not, I'll be back next week and I'll remember to put my timer on. So anyway, this was the 5 things that you must be prepared to answer before your next discovery call. If you are not on the email list, I want to make sure that you have the new number to send your text to. If you've already done this before, then I have you on the list. There are no worries. What you want to text to 33777, you want to text the phrase VA starts. I'm looking on my phone to make sure I have it right. It is right on my Instagram. I've been remembering the wrong code. So VASTART, you want to send that to 33777. Okay. If you have any questions, I might not be able to answer all of your questions, but I'd love to hear from you. Come on over to the Facebook page, facebook.com/the business of being a virtual assistant. If you're into acronyms like I am, you can do facebook.com/TBBVA. That's where I am, over on Facebook. Now, if you've got tons of questions, I'm going to say hop on the email list, because in the coming weeks, I am going to be doing some free webinars. And I'm going to give you a heads up now. We did a 6-week workshop, the Client Path workshop. It was 6 intense weeks, and we had a wonderful time. I'll have to share the feedback from the VA business owners. I don't have it in front of me right now, so I'll share that in another episode, what they said about the program. But if you want to know when the next live workshop, live meaning online live, where you get to interact and ask me different questions, and you get to learn things that are related to your VA business to help you move forward, make sure that you're on the email list. If you're not into texting codes, go to tiffanyparson.com and click on training. And that will, you can get on the email list that way as well. So I've got 2 options. Send a text to 33777. Your text would be VA Start, or head on over to tiffanyparson.com and get added, click on training and add yourself from there. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you got a lot out of it. I hope you were able to write down the questions. If not, rewind, write down those questions, answer those questions, and be ready for your next discovery call. Thank you so much for your time, for listening, for watching. You have a wonderful and fantastic day.